Okay, folks, let's continue for the next chapter of this seminar. So there is actually a Chinese proverb which says that every journey starts with the first step. And if we think about game industry, so typically the first step doing game business is setting up a studio or setting up a company. And now there is Matthias Holmqvist from Business Espoo telling us how to set up a company. I think that I said in the beginning that setting up a company is easy and closing a company is difficult, but well, basically setting up a company is straightforward, but it's not easy. But Matthias is going to tell you what are all the steps when you have to set up your own company. So welcome.
Thank you. So good afternoon. My name is Matthias Holmqvist. I work as a business advisor at Business Espoo, and I'm here to tell you about how to set up a company in Finland in brief. So this is the agenda of today, how to set up a company, and then I will also talk a bit about the startup grant, which is a personal benefit you can apply in the beginning of entrepreneurship. Business Espoo, we help you and your companies to thrive. We provide confidential, free of charge business advisory. You can utilize our expert network when you use our services. We can recommend, for example, bookkeepers, accountants, advertising agencies, lawyers, banks, and such if you use our services. And the first meeting with our expert network members is free, usually. This service is provided by the taxpayers, so therefore we provide services for residents of Espoo and Kauniainen, but if you want to establish a company in Espoo or Kauniainen, you are welcome to book an appointment with us. We provide sparring, discussion, business development services, and we are here to help you when you want to set up a company in Finland. It's easy to book an appointment with us through our website, businessespoo.com or businessespoo.fi. So please go to that website and book an appointment with us. Unfortunately, we have a long queue at the moment, but we try to open new slots in our calendar all the time. So please be patient when you try to book an appointment with us at this time. Business Espoo is basically like a network of organizations that are listed here. It includes City of Espoo, Espoo Regional Enterprise Agency, my colleagues at Espoon Seudun Uusyrityskeskus basically, Helsinki Region Chamber of Commerce, Enter Espoo, Omnia, and the Federation of Espoo Entrepreneurs. How many of you guys have seen this guidebook or read it? Excellent. You can download this for free at uusyrityskeskus.fi or perustamisopas.fi. It's also in English, so Finnish, English, Swedish should be available there for free. If you want a paper copy, you can pick one up at our office. It's on the second floor in this building. So that's basically the best source of information you can get regarding this topic, starting a business in Finland. There are many types of companies, many forms of entrepreneurship. I've listed some of them here. I believe many of you guys are considering full-time entrepreneurship and establishing a limited liability company. So therefore, I will tell you something about limited liability companies next. But yeah, there can be also self-employed entrepreneurs in this event. You can be part-time entrepreneur. You can buy an existing business. That's also a possibility. Sometimes you can even consider franchising. what you can also do is test your business idea basically by starting the 4-month entrepreneurship trial. That's an alternative to the startup grant, but you can also apply for the startup grant during the 4-month trial. So before it ends, you should apply for the startup grant. So that's also one option if you want to try entrepreneurship part-time and then become a full-time entrepreneur with the startup grant. That's also possible. So please consider that. So yeah, I think this is the main picture of my presentation today. So the phases of setting up a company. Usually it starts from thinking about the legal form of enterprise. And as I mentioned, most gaming companies are limited liability companies. Of course, you can do freelancing through a private trader or even as a light entrepreneur, but most gaming companies are limited liability companies or osakeyhtiö here in Finland. I wouldn't recommend any other types of companies if you are serious about establishing a company in Finland. And how to then register the company after you have maybe applied for the startup grant. So you should get the decision on the startup grant before you register. But yeah, the legislations changed this year, so what you can do is after you have sent your application on the startup grant, then you can already start the registration process. So that's allowed. So keep in mind that you can go to ytj.fi and start the registration process right after you have sent your startup grant application through työmarkkinatori.fi website. And yeah, it's basically only available at the moment in Finnish or Swedish, the registration form at ytj.fi, but of course you can use Google Translate. It should be possible to do that. If you need hands-on help, you can always book an appointment with us and we can go through the registration process together. You shouldn't use the paper form to register since that takes a lot longer to register then. Of course, if you want to use share capital, then you should do the registration in paper. But if you want to speed up the process, please use the registration form online at ytj.fi. It doesn't take long to fill in, and then you get the business ID immediately after you have paid the registration fee, so it will process some time, and then you get the number. The number won't change even if it says unregistered first. So it takes around 2 to 4 weeks before the company is officially registered at PRH. But it's a fairly fast process. And the number you can use to make contracts. You can open a bank account for the company, since limited liability companies need official business accounts. So you should remember that. You can also, with a single notification, register your company at the value-added tax register, prepayment tax register, and employer register. So you don't need to file them separately. So you can do every register at the same time with one notification if you want. Of course, you can do them later on as well if you want. Once the company starts to operate in practice, that won't cost you then anything extra. So you only pay the one-time registration fee. At the moment, it's 270 euros online for limited liability companies. Oh, sorry, 280. But yeah, that's how I would recommend you to do it. After you have registered, then you should also take into consideration arranging accounting or bookkeeping. As mentioned, we have companies in our network we can recommend you if you don't know any bookkeepers or accountants. That's something you should outsource. I highly recommend that. Don't do that by yourself, since it's more complicated than in the private trader. So if it's not your core competency, then outsource it and pay around 100 euros to 200 euros a month for that service. Then the only compulsory insurance in Finland you have to take when you become an entrepreneur is the pension insurance for entrepreneurs called YEL insurance. That's something that is now being changed hopefully soon by the current government. But yeah, the current YEL insurance system has its problems. If you need help with that, we can help you. Of course, you can contact the insurance providers. There are 4 of them at the moment, and negotiate with them about the payment. But yeah, please don't maximize the while insurance payment. Optimize it based on your need for social security as an entrepreneur in Finland. That's my recommendation. But yeah, before you even consider establishing a company, you might want to do a business plan and even calculations. Those are required if you apply for the startup grant. And if you apply for a startup grant, we business advisors in Espoo have to review your plan and calculations and accept them, basically go through them and finalize them together with you so that you can apply for the startup grant. Please do not apply for the startup grant with your own templates. Use our templates, which you can download from our website, business.com, business.fi. But yeah, this was the main slide of my presentation, but we have to move forward since we have limited time. And as mentioned, please write the business idea based on the audience, basically. Of course, it's a tool for yourself, your own understanding on what you're going to do as an entrepreneur. It's also needed when you apply for other types of funding, not only grants. So please consider that as well. Please send the business plan to the business advisor before you meet them. Even if you have done some calculations, you should also send those. Even if they are preliminary, they are still a good point to discuss in the business advisory meeting. And as mentioned, please download them through our website. They are there in both Finnish and English. A Word file and an Excel file. As mentioned, there are a few types of entrepreneurs or entrepreneurship forms of companies. This is one common way to employ yourself through sole trader, toiminimi, TMI. It's easy to register through the same system, YTJ.fi. It only costs you 70 euros to register, but it's usually for a one-man or a person company. It's not suitable for teams. And in this type of enterprise, you carry the responsibility of everything, basically. So that's something you need to consider as well. This is a way to employ yourself. Invoice, you can work for limited liability companies. So yeah, this is a good way to start. But if you have a team, you're serious about building a game business, please consider instead the limited liability company, OY, osakeyhtiö. And as mentioned here, registration fee is a lot more if you do the registration on paper, so 370 euros, and if you do the online registration, it's 280. You need bank credentials, mobile identity when you log into the YTJ.fi system. So you need to have some kind of Finnish identity to do that. So you're not able to do it if you don't have those. So get those first before you register. You can be a basically partner or shareholder in several companies. So, but usually limited liability companies are set up by a team of people. Limited liability companies have boards. Minimum requirement is 1 member and 1 deputy member. So please remember that when you register. When you register, you need to know the deputy member's social security number. So you need to put that in the system. So you need to have some trusted person involved when you register, at least 1 person. But that's just a position of responsibility. It doesn't mean that the person should be actively involved in the company operations. Taxation is fairly straightforward. At the moment, a limited liability company pays 20% of corporate tax on profits. The current government is reducing this percentage to 18 starting from 2027. So that's a good thing. It makes the limited liability company even more better as a form of enterprise then. A limited liability company can pay salaries, so that's also a good thing. You can basically hire people directly to the team. Also, they don't have to be shareholders necessarily. Always do a shareholder agreement before you register a company. So that's also a recommendation. So templates are online if you need those. We can give you guidance on those, but you should always use a lawyer if you want to check that it's legally correctly done. If you use a template you find online. This day, the registration online also requires that you go through the list of, or you go through the beneficial owners of the company. So you need to know who are the beneficial owners. Basically, it means that if you own 25% or more of the company, you have to list yourself as a beneficial owner. But yeah, those are the main things regarding the limited liability company. Here is a picture regarding the taxation. As mentioned, it's fairly straightforward. I'm not going to go into details this time, but yeah. For example, the turnover or sales matters, which is better tax-wise. Usually, we tell our clients that once your turnover or sales is around 100,000 euros per year, it's more beneficial to switch to the limited liability company because you get tax benefits then. But yeah, this is a picture in the guidebook. You can find it there if you want to learn more about the taxation. Here is a picture from the system at ytj.fi, and this is to remind you that when you register, please do not put your phone number there. Since if you put your phone number there, you will be subject to scam calls that are really annoying. So please remember, don't put your phone number in the part where it asks, what contact information do you want to publish on the public ytj.fi site? Leave it empty, so you won't be subject to scam calls. You have to give your phone number and email to the tax office and PRH, but that's not public information. So please remember this if you register the company by yourself online. You can leave all of these empty and just click continue, ready, next, whatever it says there on the right. But yeah, it's a fairly easy thing to do online, as mentioned, but unfortunately at the moment it's not available in English. You have to use Google Translate or come to us or use a lawyer, use a bookkeeper or accountant. Of course they will charge you to register, but yeah, you might be able to do it by yourself. It's not that difficult. There's not many like pitfalls in the registration process other than this part regarding the contact information. The pension insurance then, it forms the basis of your Social Security. So as I mentioned, don't minimize it, optimize it based on your need for Social Security. That's the main thing I want to tell you regarding the pension insurance. You will get a discount during the first 4 years. So that's something you should consider. And you should also remember that the 1-year pension insurance is fully deductible in the taxation of the company. So if the company pays the pension insurance on behalf of you, you can deduct it fully. So in the case of limited liability company, it can fully be deducted in the taxation. And when do you need the pension insurance? As you can see here in the picture, if your annual work income exceeds 9,208 euros 43 cents, meaning 768 euros a month, you need to take the pension insurance within 6 months. And that's compulsory in the law in Finland at the moment. Of course, as I mentioned, the current government is hopefully changing this system to a better one soon, but it might take some time still. Please use YEL calculators to estimate the amount you need to pay monthly. But it will be several hundreds of euros a month, even if you get the discount during the first 4 years. So it's a substantial cost you need to be prepared to pay. You have talked about financing today. I'm not going to go in details in this. Yeah, the whole event is about funding, I believe. But yeah, if you have own money, that's the best way to start. But you can also consider these other types of funding. But the main rule is you cannot start a business without any capital. That's not possible. And the startup grant is not for investments. It's a personal benefit in the beginning of entrepreneurship. Marketing can be difficult if you have not done that before. Some of our clients consider this as a real challenge. If you need help with this, of course, you can use AI. You can talk to marketing consultants or even us business advisors. We can give you advice on marketing. That's something we do daily. Grants. I saw that this event has not talked about grants that much, so therefore I decided to give you a brief look on the grants at the moment available. So basically, startup grant is the main type of grant available at the moment. Unfortunately, other types of grants are not available. The only one grant I know about is the Startup Foundation grant, which you can apply if you establish a startup, like a game development startup or game startup. So that's another grant you can apply. So yeah, Startup Foundation, Startup Säätiö has a grant which you can apply. But here are some details on the startup grant. I don't think I will use that much time to present these since I went through the basics already. It's a personal benefit. You need to apply. If you have questions regarding the startup grant in Espoo or Kauniainen, you can send email to my colleagues at the employment services through starttiraha@espoo.fi. So that's a good source of information if you have detailed questions regarding the startup grant. Some conditions on the startup grant. I think the main ones are that, as I mentioned, you should send your startup grant application before you register the company. So that's the general rule. The second general or main rule is that the planned business should be profitable right from the start, and you should be able to pay yourself around 1,500 euros a month as salary if you have a limited liability company. So that's also a key rule in the calculations you need to have when you apply for the startup grant. And as I mentioned, startup grant is only for full-time entrepreneurship. So if you start full-time entrepreneurship for the first time, you can apply for the startup grant. And if you are lucky to get that, it will be paid on your personal account, not the business account, since it's a personal benefit. And the application on the startup grant is done through työmarkkinatori.fi website. You basically log in there with your, again, bank credentials, mobile identity, and do the application there. Don't use a PDF file. Use the työmarkkinatori.fi platform and the online form there. You go through the questions there, and then you need to attach documents there, and then you can send the application. Currently, we have a 2-month queue in the startup grant process, so it might take a while before you get the decision. However, there's money left, so you shouldn't be worried about the money that much, since it's available still. And hopefully next year as well. So please apply for the startup grant if you're interested in that. Yeah, so then we have, I believe, 5 minutes for questions. I'm here to answer them if possible. If you have detailed questions, personal questions, please book an appointment with us at businessport.com, businessport.fi. We are here to help you. Thank you.
Elina, Suvi, could you bring the mic to Veri? It's complicated. I know.
Yeah. So I didn't see in the tick boxes that you have to be in the unemployed status when applying for the startup grant. That used to be the case, like I don't know, 10 years ago. But is it still?
No, it's not the case. You can be working for someone else, and then when you switch to full-time entrepreneurship, you apply for the startup grant. So yeah, you don't need to be unemployed.
Okay, that's a great change.
Yeah.
Any other? So all the way. Up you go.
Okay.
Meet in the middle.
Hey, Lassi, I was wondering that for the business grant, you need to be profitable from the beginning.
Exactly, yes.
And in the game business, that is kind of hard to promise. So
I know,
do those usually go through? Or?
Yes, they do, but you need to then make unrealistic estimations or calculations.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Not me. No, it's not. My recommendation. Personal recommendation.
Jussi.
Yeah, I would add also for anyone applying that if you do a side job on top of the startup grant, you will lose the startup grant if some other organization is paying for you. So if you do mail delivery for 800 euros, you won't get the 800 euros from a startup grant.
Yeah, basically you can only work part-time, so evenings and weekends is allowed. But yeah, it's a gray line basically. Yeah.
Okay, I guess that the year was...
Sure.
Is really so that you need to have a citizenship, Finnish citizenship, to get a startup grant?
No, you can be in the country, but you need to have a Finnish ID. Basically, you need to be in the system.
Finnish ID.
Yes.
Sorry, that's good clarification. And also to be able to establish a company, you have to have a Finnish ID.
Yes.
Or European ID.
Yeah, you need to have grounds to stay here in Finland. Most likely you have a residence permit for entrepreneurs or startup entrepreneurs. So a suitable residence permit is enough.
Okay, one more. Two more.
Yeah, we have time.
I'm first because I have the mic.
Yeah.
You are.
So I don't need this service, but do you have like a service that there is someone? You said that I can come to you and you give help.
Yes.
But is there a person or a service that because there's many steps and there's many things and many documentations and everything needs to be put into some system. So somebody gives you the hands-on clicking advice. You go here, you go there, you write this, you go there, then you pay this, and so on. Is there that kind of service, or is it like general advising that, yeah, you go there and you do this and that? You do understand what I mean?
Yeah, we have hands-on help for this type of situations. So you can share your screen on Teams and we can do this registration together. Or at the office. Yes, we can help.
Yep. One more.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So my question is because the impression I had today is that from the previous grants, you already need to have some money and some success to get more grants. And from this, you get very minimal things. So is it safe to assume that the best path is to make a toy minimi and kind of survive and then get clients and survive a bit more? And then when you make the money, then you start applying for other projects. Basically, this startup grant that you're talking about is just to keep you afloat in the very beginning, right?
Exactly, yeah. So it depends on your situation. As I mentioned, the private trader is not for teams. The private trader is only for the freelancer or self-employed person. Of course, you can start developing a game as a private trader first, And then once the game is successful, you can then switch to the limited liability company and then get partners or hire people to help you.
Yeah, because from what I understood, once you have an LLC, you need to start paying yourself salary, so you need to have certain capital.
No, you don't have to pay salary. It's not demanded. You can have zero salary and keep the money in the company.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Matthias, thank you. I think that there is going to be some new customers coming to your direction.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah, okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, it has been a long day, and it's time for me to sit down and invite to the stage Jussi. Please come here. And Jere. And Elina. So we are going to discuss a little bit about the funding or the experience of the experienced people about the funding, getting the funding and giving the funding for others. So I think that we do a very short round of introductions first. So Jussi, you can start.
Yeah, hi all. So I'm Jussi Autio. I've been in the business since 2006, so next year is 20 years. I've been in business development and game design roles and do a lot of consulting and teaching as well. I've been teaching on the side since 2009 and consulted some companies since 2012, I think. That's
Okay,
it.
yeah.
PC Premium is my
PC
expertise.
Premium, okay. Yeah.
Okay, hello. So I'm Jere. I work as a principal at Sisu Game Ventures, where we do early stage investments in game studios and game tech companies. I don't come from the game industry myself. My only relation to the game industry prior to Sisu was running all the games program for Slush back when they still had some, but I've been an entrepreneur outside games, more in the sort of AI space prior and in parallel to working with Sisu.
And Elina.
Yes, thank you. Elina, I'm the co-founder and CEO of a company called Quick Save Interactive. And I've been in the game industry, I think 1 year longer than Jussi, so 20 years now, 20 plus. And I started my first company in 2010. It was acquired 2015. And so this is my second time being an entrepreneur. And we've recently switched from building games actually to building the tech. Or we built the tech already earlier, but now we are having the business model around the tech that we built. Yes, good to be here. I like the topic.
Okay, yes. Let's start with the first question, which is basically for short answer from everyone. So if you think about the game studio, setting up a game studio, of course we have been discussing about funding today a lot. But there is so many other aspects in the setting up a game studio. What is the biggest challenge for starting a game studio if we take the funding part of the way?
Yeah, okay.
I think it's the saturation. Basically, choosing where do you go is like choosing the difficulty level for your journey. That it could be that you have to be in the best 1% to be successful, or you could be that if you're in the best 25%, and then you're successful. So choosing the difficulty level based on the saturation of the market. So.
And you are referring to different kind of platforms, so choosing different kind of platforms. Okay.
Exactly, not just platforms, but also the genres. That there is more viable genres and more saturated genres as well.
Elina, what is your take on this?
Yeah, I say that now, like, I mean, the funding is probably the biggest currently on the market, but if you look at like what is the requirements on like you need to have a big vision or like it not big, like you need to have a direct vision, but I think that's not a problem. I think there's, you know, if you have a vision on like where do you want to go with the game, but then also it's also a benefit that nowadays there's so many good tools and AI and things that speed up the production that you can go faster than you could even just a couple of years ago, but that has also become a requirement. Especially if you're looking for funding, you kind of need to be fast nowadays. So I'd say it's a challenge on like how fast it has become that people expect you to be. because that is like quite a big, I don't know if you agree on like the production times, they've gotten shorter, and that also starts to be expected.
Oh, but yeah, you have seen a lot of companies. And you have the funding part, but what is the biggest obstacle from your point of view if you take a look at the company?
Right. So outside of funding, I mean, I would sort of agree with what Jussi said. The kind of it's not necessarily especially from our perspective, about choosing kind of what type of game you want, but ultimately like who you're building it for, and being honest about that. Because I think a lot of companies, I would say specifically in Finland, are founded with the notion that people want to build games for themselves, and then tell themselves that they're building games for someone else. And that ultimately ends up being a bit challenging in the current form of the market.
So you mean that this old tradition that you build a game you have always wanted to play is still alive and kicking in Finland?
Well, specifically in Finland, yes, but I think that's very much a stereotypical thing in the game industry, regardless of where you are. But Finland being very like design and craft-driven ecosystem in games is, I feel that's more pronounced here.
Yeah, that's something we have been discussing quite a lot. That we are basically craft-oriented, but there is some countries, for instance, Turkey, where there is more like business-oriented way of doing the games industry.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was just having a discussion with Gus here about Vietnam, where their whole thing in mobile is that they just clone games. They don't know why they work. They just clone them, and they're the best at marketing them.
Okay, it doesn't sound fun to me.
I guess that's a fair point.
Okay.
But it's about, again, what type of business are you building? Are you building a venture-backable business to make money, or do you want to build games because you genuinely enjoy building games? Both are valid, but I see a lot of people who tell themselves even that they want to build a business while just ultimately wanting to build games.
Okay, but hey, that to Elina. So, as you said, you have been in the game industry for a while, but now you're going more to the tech side. So, what is the reason for that? So, don't you love making games anymore?
No, it's I guess it's not that, but we build on the business side of like let's how like where's the biggest business? How do we bring the biggest value? And actually, couple of years ago, we had already been building the tools for ourselves. I mean, this is a very common story. You start in a market, you need the tool yourself. You build something for yourself, and then a couple of years ago we found some other studio, quite big one, wanting to license the tool from us. So we were like, okay, maybe we should look into this. Like we already have a customer without much trying, and then we focus more on the tools. And then a year ago we realized we can make it into this no-code experience. So it's like it's kind of natural development. And if you didn't know Slack, for example, Slack used to be an internal tool for a game company. So it's not the first time this also happens that game company has built a tool for itself and then actually finds that to be the most valuable thing.
Yeah, I guess that back in 2005, 6, 7 or so, there were a lot of Finnish game developer companies who were developing their own engines for the mobile development. So there is a long tradition for us to kind of license our tools to the others. But
and Finns also like do often like building tech, but it's also due to like I once talked to some Asian, I don't know, maybe it was a Chinese game company person who said that usually what they do if they have an issue, they have 100 people working on it. In Finland we make a tool and then we have one person using the tool. So that's also like regarding how the environment works on like you don't put like a mass of people behind it.
So have you considered setting up a company for the kind of company for the tool? I mean for.
So we're now we pivoted. So Quicksave Interactive is the tool. It's currently called QS App. I said that currently, but it's called QS App. QS.app is the tool that we've built, and we are now marketing and selling and licensing from the same company. So we have not founded a new company. I guess some things that would be like to get a new company, we would be again able to like pitch at +100 because you have to be less than 5 years old. But I mean, overall, looking at the benefits and cons on like starting a new company, it's also a bit complicated because still the same IP and the same exact tool. So we have no problem continuing with the same name of the company.
Okay, hey, that's a very good answer. So, Jere, I have been always wondering how you guys do it. So we know that in the games industry trends come and go, and there is all kinds of hypes every now and then, latest being the crypto hype. So how do you choose the long-term winner if you think of you're looking for an investment target? How do you choose the company you consider being the long-term winner?
Yeah, I mean, I think my answer is going to be very boring. I mean, for us, when we invest at a very early stage, when there's usually no prototype even, it's all about the team, and even later, it's all about the team. I kind of like to say that everything that we see being, or everything that's told to us regarding the product, the business, like everything is ultimately a proxy about the team. And I think the biggest mistake as an investor, specifically investing in early stage companies using equity, is investing in a product, because that product that you're pitched at the early stage never ships, absolutely never.
So basically thinking about game business more than game product as so.
Well, yeah. I mean, ultimately, we don't really invest in any company that's just looking to build a game. We're investing in businesses. So, yeah. But
yeah, and it feels like that you are not alone with this, because as far as I know, all the investors do the same. They are looking for the games business, not the product. Of course, there is some kind of people who are basically donating money for.
yeah, sure. I mean, I think ultimately, if you're investing in equity, this is just how it is. There is a level of push and pull here where the companies that are too business forward are often the ones that don't really know how to serve the audience with their games, and they're sort of the craft and artistry is easily diluted, which you still absolutely do need, even if you're building what a lot of people might say like a boring mobile business. But yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Jussi. So you said that you are a bad to the bone PC developer. So. Yeah. We all know that the scalability in the PC is nothing compared to the mobile. So how do you convince investors of your growth potential when you are discussing or asking them to invest to your company?
Well, I think that answer goes back to my first answer to the saturation. If we were to get to the top 1%, we would still be able to promise almost 100x. But choosing the growth path so that we're profitable way earlier, that in our genres we can get 3x already when we're in the top 17%. So choosing carefully where to go, and then building so that even if we fall, we fall forward, that then the next game is going to support the previous game, and building a case where the big picture is constantly growing stronger, regardless of if the first game is successful or not. So there is still big potential if we reach the top percentages.
How do you choose basically where to go? What is your kind of secret receipt for choosing where to go?
I mean, PC is fantastic because it's an open platform. There is Steam Spy, there is VG Insights, there is Gamalytic. Pay for those services and analyze the different genres. You can download Excels on all the sales estimates for all the games in that specific genre, and that's how you can choose the difficulty level for your business. That okay, how many copies have this genre sold when you're in the top 20, and then in some other genre it could be half of that. Then it means that the other genre is half easier. So kind of doing the basics, and it's with PC. Those services are super cheap. You pay €70 and you get all the data you need.
So this kind of rudimentary analytics of
yeah.
And you can do it in yourself and in Excel with some experience.
Yeah. I mean, Excel should be your best friend. I love Excel.
So do I. So there is something common. We love Excel. Okay.
Yeah, indeed.
Hey, Elina. So now when you are on the dark side, I mean on the tech side, so What kind of expectations do the tech investors have compared to the game investors? Because you have experience a little bit about both.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of similar things still. In early stage, like people look at the team, well, the tech itself, your traction. Obviously, right now the requirement is heavily on your AI strategy. Obviously, like how do you deal with AI? How does AI not make you irrelevant in a year or in 6 months? So obviously we are doing an AI-assisted tool. It actually has AI in it to build like playable ads and interactive elements with AI. So we're kind of got that covered. But still, I do get questions on like, so how is it different on using your tool than just going to a generic LLM and prompting from it? So you need to be kind of very clear. Currently, that's the big thing. On like how do you not get irrelevant with AI? With, being there.
So what is the value of your tool for the user and how?
Like what's the value? Like what's the added value on like the substance beyond like just using LLM? So like like for us, like having the structure and having the whole kind of editor interface as well, having being data. I mean, there's a lot of things. I don't have to do the marketing speech now, but like like you have to have that substance.
I have heard your marketing speech. It's a good one. It's a very clear one. Even I understand what you offer, and it's a tall order to get me understand something.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, the short form AI tool to make playable ads. Yeah.
If you think about your investment, you are investing to the company. How much proof of concept do you need? So I know that there is a wide variety what kind of proof of concept the investors are looking for. Some are looking for very strong KPIs and something like that. What is your case? Because you are the early stage investor or the first money investor.
Yeah, I mean, as pre-seed, we don't need anything. If we like the team, we don't need a pitch deck. If we just like you and we think that others might also do the same, because we also obviously compete with other other founders, but other VC funds. If we think that this is something that will fly off the shelves, we don't need anything, just the team. And if we have a bit less trust in the team, then we need those proxies that tell us about the team being investable, be they metrics, be they a build, or something else. I mean, it's hard to say like what exactly we need, because it moves around a lot depending on who we're investing in.
So it's kind of leap of faith for you in some sense.
Yeah, I mean, pre-seed investments, absolutely. Like you expect 90% or more of those to return nothing.
Yeah, so there is debt ratio is quite big for it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like it is still the case that over 90% of venture-backed startups die.
Yeah. Okay.
What do you mean by 10% or more?
We generally don't like to invest in just a single person, but we've also done this. But mostly it's 2-3 people. That's more than enough for us. I would say that we're a bit concerned if you have a very big team initially. It's usually a bit better for us if it's especially at pre-seed, when there's you need to prove out like a very early hypothesis of a build. Like, why would you have 10 people? What's the point?
So you mean kind of core team of the core development team?
Founders generally here.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you can have a few initial employees, but we're mainly just looking at the founders initially.
Okay. To Jussi, so there is, as we have heard today, there is so many elements in the funding of the game company, or there can be so many elements. How about how do you see the publishing deals versus equity investment versus some other form of funding? What would be the ideal mix if you think about it? You could have the ideal mix of funding for the Silver Legend like this. So how would you do it?
Well, for Silver Legend, we're this time going for, like, background is that I've been doing publisher-driven business for the last 10 years.
Yeah, previous
in my previous companies. I love working with publishers. They are a great source for funding, But there is some caveats with publishers. Mostly the recoup conditions. If you want to build long tail sales for your game, almost all publishing deals come with the recoup condition that first the publisher is going to recoup their risk, that they give you money. And then that can kill the sensibility on keeping on updating that game. So my experience is that publisher deals are still easier, particularly for a young team. If you don't have a long track record as individuals, if your founding team isn't that you have over 10 years of experience, then I would strongly recommend going for publishers. Because publishers are just interested in three things. Is the game going to be good? Can you do it? No need to be thinking about the marriage that the investors are. And then can they sell enough copies? If all of them are yes, then they will finally give the yes answer on funding you. However, that recoup condition can be very serious if you want to be building a sustainable long tail sales for a game as well. That was pretty much why my previous company, we didn't develop the games forward, because the recoup basically meant that all the extra patches that we would do, that would be just a hobby. No one is paying for us. So why would we keep on updating the game even if it had 80,000 wish lists? So publishers still taking all the money. So consider what is best for you. I think, of course, combining both makes sense, but with investors, well, Jere knows this better than, well, maybe even Elina knows this better than I do, but you need to build also exit plan for the investors. When particularly if it's a institutional investors, when do they get the money back? When is the exit? And if you don't know how to plan for investors to get their money back within a specific amount of time, then go for publishers.
Yeah, so very simple rule of thumb in a way to how to do it. Elina, for you, so now when you are doing tech, how do you sort the traction? Because in the games industry, it's easy. How many downloads do you have, and that kind of traction is easy to measure, and everybody can basically see it. But how do you do it in the tech? So
isn't the opposite, that revenue is easier to measure than like proxy metrics like downloads?
Yeah, I'd say I'm in the easy end now, because like if I get like 10 paying customers, and let's say one ad is up, I don't know, 100, 200, I mean, it's very cheap for an ad, but it's more than anybody would pay for a game. If you have 10 users for a game, they are not paying you 100 each. So like actually my traction, the numbers can be like quantitatively, it's less customers that I need than a game needs players to show meaningful traction. Especially if you are building a free-to-play game, you need to get a lot of players to make the attraction look interesting for a fundraise. So of course, since I'm kind of more in a B2B sales now, I'm also doing direct sales, not just marketing, but a lot of the kind of I don't know what you call it, business hustle or whatever you want to say. It's still similar, kind of like trying to get your product out there, make your name to be known. So there's similarities as well in like how do you achieve the traction, but yeah, it's also more direct sales, and quantity-wise, it's kind of less. It's already impressive.
So there is less kind of metrics needed, because there is some.
Well, you still need metrics. You still need those customers. Like you still need to hustle to that. Yeah.
Finding the leads and finding the potential customers and kind of
and listen to them and iterate and improve your product. And of course, one benefit that we also have is now that we have the product, and like individual like customer ads or products can be delivered like within days, so we can pretty quickly iterate the whole process as well on like how is the where do we who needs this most, and like where do we go, where are we visible. Whereas if you are building, again, I'm going back to my very first answer, if it takes you like 2 years to build a game, and then after 2 years it's the first time you're measuring it with a customer, that's a very long iteration timeline on like, you know, seeing the first time reaction on like where should be iterate. And I know there are these things, you know, Silk Song was 7 years in development, but they did have Hollow Knights first, and like that's kind of like a very extreme case to build something for 7 years. I would say be quick to market and iterate, and yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be a little bit old-fashioned to do something like 5, 6, 7 years before they go to market. So
well, that's kind of
it's a risky
that's kind of a
business.
hobby project. That is a project like if you just want to make the game, like Jere started. Like if you just want to build a game, if you maybe you are working somewhere else, like you know, take however long you want. But if you are seriously building business, if you want to get funded, telling someone it's going to take us 7 years will not help you to get funded.
Or then you need somebody with a lot of faith and very, very deep pockets.
Yes.
There is 2 options for that. Common question for all of you. So there has been some discussion, also not today, but the word ambition was mentioned a couple of times. So if you think of the Finnish games industry, do you think that we lack ambition in business-wise or otherwise in the Finnish games industry at the moment? Because there has been some kind of discussion about that.
Yeah, if I may start, I don't think the entrepreneurs lack passion. I mean, we are in the gaming circles. We're now also in the Finnish startup community, which I actually recommend if you are going heavily on like building a game business. That startup community is quite good. And there's a lot of passionate entrepreneurs building big.
I think you meant ambitious, not passionate, but
Ambition.
Ambition, yes, ambition, not just passion, ambition, yes. People wanting to really do, you know, global breakthroughs with very big visions, with high ambition. I think we have them. Actually, I have to say, not to Sisu, you guys are doing good in this, but there are a lot of VCs who are actually not looking for very ambitious things. There are VCs in Finland who are looking for 3x outcome or look for 5x outcome max, and they don't even look for kind of moonshots like 10x, 100x big things. They want to have a steady business, they want to put in a bit of money, and they want to make that grow, and then they make their exit. And this is kind of a type of investor that is not helping to fuel these big ambitions. So I think that we have more ambition. I don't know, this is the entrepreneur's point of view, more ambition in the side of entrepreneur than actually the funding.
yeah, I mean, I would say that, yeah, maybe in some regards there's a bit of lack of ambition on with some of the companies I'm seeing out of Finland, but I would not put that in the top 10 challenges for the kind of ecosystem here. I think the biggest issue, even for those that are very ambitious, is that they lack kind of an understanding of how challenging the business realities, specifically in mobile games, are. Because I fly to Turkey every now and then. I was there a few weeks ago. I see what the other ecosystems are doing, and they are sort of absolutely ruthless about commercial success. They simply do not care at all about, in mobile specifically, about the craft. They don't care about culture. I mean, they care about it insofar as it gets them business results. And it is cold in a way, but these people also work 14 hours a day. Like, these people don't have an home, they rent because they live at the office. And that might seem that obviously excessive, and it is, but that just gives you the idea of like what a lot of people are willing to sacrifice to get to the results that are needed specifically in mobile to compete in like the saturated parts of that market. It is brutally difficult. And here I think we don't lack the design or the technical capability, we just lack the business acumen to make that a reality in a competitive market.
So with business acumen, you mean kind of, what do you mean actually? With
Sorry, it was very vague thing.
obscure.
So I think largely it is a sober estimation of what is required to succeed in a given state of the market. And specifically, I could talk about PC, which is a very different case here, but in mobile, it is so saturated and so driven around competing on user acquisition volumes and competing on small opportunities of arbitrage that might exist for a company for a month before these Vietnamese developers copy what you're doing and just market it significantly better than you might. So you might have an opportunity with a genre or a game in a genre for a month, and you have to be able to leverage that opportunity. And you need the level of like monetization expertise, you need the level of live ops expertise and the marketing expertise, which I would sort of lump more into the business side of things, which are very different from a lot of the core skills that I would place into the sort of Finnish bucket, which is more in design and technical craft.
Yes. Jussi, do we like ambition? Do you like ambition?
Well, my take is of course very different from Jere's. I teach game design at the university and then coach design and business in a game accelerator. And I say that we do lack ambition. The mobile game is the nightmare difficulty level. It's one person taking 92% of all the money that's involved in mobile games. So you have to be at the very 1%. And then there, you're absolutely right. But when I look at the young teams, then you need to have some arguments. Why would specific audience start playing your game instead of that game that they're already playing? And I see that that's often lacking, that you don't dare, like many teams, particularly the younger teams, they just want to make a cool game, which might be cool, but why would anyone switch to this game instead of playing for the 10th time that game that they're already playing? And you can have that argument early on. Why would that switch? What would be the unique selling point? What would the specific audience like bards or architects, why would they switch? What is the element that your game has better than the king of the genre has? And very few dare to dream that, okay, we need to be better than the best-selling game in this genre. And you need to have argument, not overall better on all the sides, because often they're AAA games that you're competing against, but at least for specific players from specific angle, you should have a reason why those would switch to your game.
Yeah, I would maybe add that obviously I look at a very small slice of all game companies in Finland, specifically those that are going for venture financing, which usually means that if you're going for venture financing, you have to go there with the knowledge that I'm expected to build a $100 million a year business. If you're building PC games and you want to build an indie studio, that's a very different question, and yeah, there might be a lack of ambition there.
Okay, at this point, do we have some questions from the audience? Suvi, you have a question. I don't know if you are allowed to ask because you are one of the organizers, but I make exception this time.
Okay, so to Jere, you were talking about the competition in mobile games and how Turkey they do the sacrifices. So it brings to my mind that we are in the situation when we were doing, for example, clothes, and then it was much more cheaper to do it in low-cost countries, and it's really hard to compete making like a really regular clothes with a low-cost country. So are we maybe in the situation, because I don't think that many Finns are willing to make that kind of sacrificing you were talking about, so are we in the situation that we maybe the mobile free-to-play is so saturated, maybe we should look outside of the mobile free-to-play?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a difficult one because, like, I know a lot of companies are looking outside mobile free-to-play. That's obviously not a panacea by any stretch of the imagination. But in mobile, you also have to be aware that there are like segments of the market that are not as saturated. I mean, you can play the game of like, I mean, may God help you if you're going for match 3 right now. That's just brutal. But you can also go for segments of the market where you're trying to be a bit more innovative and finding that arbitrage. It's still incredibly difficult, but at least you're not immediately playing the war of like, I'm going against large incumbents or the ones that will immediately copy my game if they find some success. If you're going for a bit of a smaller game to start with that you don't expect to scale to like, I don't know, 50 million revenue a year, then that's a bit of a different case. You can find like smaller niches that are completely viable to build a business in. But I would say that I think like when it comes to mobile, it's like also a question of like where do we as Finns like go from here instead of just like moving away from a space where we have strong expertise in, because we still are producing games that from that design and technical perspective are excellent just in every regard. But do we need to sort of import some of that expertise, which is part of what we're trying to do with some of our companies when it comes to live ops, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to product management as a whole? Or do we take the tack that some Finnish companies are doing, which I think is more of a fit with the history of where Finland has found success in the game industry in general, is actually looking at technological transitions as a way to find spaces where we're better suited for. I mean, mobile was one where Finns were able to leverage new design space, and you get cases like Angry Birds, you get the Supercell portfolio. But now you question, is there something similar with such a saturated and mature market? You could say that while AI is not a platform per se, it offers a similar opportunity if you are proficient and sort of brave enough to think about like, okay, how do we then build this from the ground up with this in mind, and do not just try to fight with the existing way of, or existing kind of paradigm of making games. Like, how do you rethink that from the ground up? And I've talked to, I mean, there's a few companies in Finland that to me are trying to do this. I mean, companies that are saying that, let's say, we won't use Unity because it's a detriment for us being fully AI native, and we'll just build it with web technologies instead, if we want to be like a fully agentic game development company, for example. That's just one example.
So moving away.
Sorry, long answer.
Yeah, well, it was a good answer. So basically moving away from the very competed area to less competed areas, but still maintaining the specialties and the expertise we have.
Yeah, I mean, being honest about where the expertise actually is, because so far it has not been in fighting in those mature genres. If you can tell yourself and like honestly that you can go into the battle with the big in a sense, then absolutely, why not? There's money available for that, but there's very few who actually have those capabilities, specifically in Finland.
Okay, I think that the time is almost up. We have been discussing like 40 minutes, arguing a little bit, and giving point of views. But starting from Elina, so what would be your best advice to a new entrepreneur who wants to build a startup company? One best advice, or two or three, depending on how you feel.
One, two part, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, right now, I would say like try to start without fundraising. I mean, if you can, like if you, I mean, with the tools, with the second part is the use AI. It speeds things up, especially in the coding. Like you need the design, you need the vision, you need the architecture kind of figured out. But you know, the paid AI models currently do very good stuff with coding, and for example, like use that to your advantage. But if you can go without funding, I mean, disclaimer: we are fundraising, so like, it's something that if you feel like you have to do and you have the means to it, but if you don't have to, then you're better off. It's going to slow you down. It's going to be a distraction if you just can go and build the game further without the funding.
So how about Jere? Do you have? What is your point?
Well,
best advice.
Best advice. I mean, I would say that like for startups in particular, like the unfortunate reality is that you eventually win if you don't die. to look at your company from the perspective of like, how do I build this into a sustainable business so I do not need external financing, and only use external financing when it's leverage for you, not a need. And it's obviously, it's easier for you to also build a narrative around that financing if you don't like really need it for anything than just pressing the gas. I mean, this is not necessarily the easiest applicable advice to people who need money right now, but that's unfortunately a difficult position to be in, and genuinely, usually that's better to than just look at angels or the friends and fools and family in some case to get you started.
Okay, Jussi.
Thinking terms of risk management. Don't do just one game. Rather have multiple concepts. Try selling them to either investors or publishers. Use them as your own risk management, which creates most traction. And then have the arguments why this could be successful. And stick to that genre so that the first game most likely is not going to be successful, but then if you stick to that genre or platform monetization model, you're slowly going to be the domain expert. From the first game, you will learn what worked, what didn't work, where were the pitfalls. And when you're selling the second game, particularly for a publisher, then you can already pinpoint that this works in this genre, we know because we did it. So particularly don't go that the first game, it has to be exactly this, but stop to think in terms of genre, what you want to go in, where do you want to grow as a domain expert so that you can put down the sense of risk of whoever you're asking money for.
Okay, I think that this was very good answer, or all these were very good answers. Thank you to the panelists, and please give them a big hand. And we are done here. So it was very nice to have you here in Get Funded, and see you again next year. Have fun.